Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. I'm going to take a few questions of the exam, if you have them. There was first. Let me start with the Zoom chat. So yes. About the previous exams.
So what can we bring to the exam?
Okay, let's start with that one. So what can we bring to the exam? You are allowed to bring general dictionary for English. If English is not your mother tongue or you need translations and so on. With general dictionary, I mean that what you are not allowed to bring is a great atlas of relational database systems or that sort of things. That doesn't work. An encyclopedia on databases. It has to be a general dictionary, just for the purpose of definitions or translations and so on. It has to be by renowned editors, so it cannot be yourself reading it. It has to be a real dictionary. This you can bring. You can bring pen, pencil, and so on. The paper will be provided by us, right? So we'll bring paper, put it on the table, so you have paper, but pen and pencil you can bring. You can bring also things like a bottle of water, snacks, and so on. I think it's generally allowed also in the exam. But that's pretty much it. You cannot bring notes or things like that, right? However, what I also want to mention is that you will have the Jupyter notebooks, right? Who says Jupyter notebooks needs Python? You know that Python works as a calculator. So if you want to calculate something, of course, it's fine to do it in the notebook. There is also the Python help that is there. So you can also look up, you can train yourself to do it offline. We try, I think we even provide that in the cheat sheet that you have to show you how to do that. So you have access normally to the Python documentation and so on, right? All of that. So don't hesitate to use it. And we try to also communicate that ahead of the exam so that you are aware of these things. So that's, you'll have that. But what you cannot bring is notes. Did this address your question, or do you have something specific in mind?
Yes, thanks. Maybe we go back to a question before the break. So do we have any previous exam papers?
Yes, we publish them. They will be on the Moodle. We'll give you PDF versions of all the past exams. On request, we can also provide the data sets. That's not a problem if you want them. But we provide them. We usually export them to PDFs from the Moodle, and we give you that.
Another question is that, do we need our ETH password in order to log into the computers?
Yes, thank you for asking this. So indeed, you need to know your ETH password. I know that some of you use password managers, which is actually a great idea, by the way, to use a password manager. But on exam day, that doesn't work. You cannot have your smartphone or use a password manager. So what you need to make sure is that either you learn it by heart, or you temporarily, for the duration of the exam or whichever computer exams you pick, change it to another password, and then you can revert it back to the one you had. It's not hard at all to have a memorable password. Very few people actually know that. Well, more and more people know it, but back then, people would educate, so the cybersecurity experts would educate people to have complicated passwords, like random letters and uppercase and digits. This is done. These times are done. Now, the way to have a memorable password is 4 random words from the dictionary, and that's it. This is very, very hard to crack. So just pick 4 words. There's even password managers that can generate that for you. And learning by heart 4 random words is much easier than a combination of lowercase, uppercase, right? So this is a small trick. But you need to know your password, because this is how you log into the exam computer, right?
Another question is that, are we expected to learn the syntax of all the languages by heart, or can we bring a sheet with some references?
The syntax of all the languages, no. Only the syntaxes of the languages that I told you have to write. So this includes SQL, PySpark, Spark SQL, and JSONic. Right? Just these. Knowing that we'll give you in the cheat sheets, we'll give you a few sample queries. So you'll have this as a reminder, but you need to practice that. You really need to make sure in the exam preparation that you make yourself familiar with the syntaxes, looking at tutorials, and querying a bit data, trying to solve past exam questions. You know, this is important, right? You'll see, for example, between SQL and Spark SQL, it's not so different. There's a few minor differences, but overall the syntax is similar. Spark transformations in PySpark, you need to make sure that you know the most popular and useful ones, right? At a minimum, you need to be able to filter, to map, to flat map, to count, to reduce, like all the primitive operations to manipulate data. It's useful also for PySpark to know how to manipulate pairs in Python. You know that you can generate pair RDDs and then bring them back to simple values. This is useful too. And JSONic, so there's what we've been doing. There's tutorials to learn it also online. Right?
Yeah, that answers the question.
Any other questions? Anything else? The lecture hall, anybody? Everything clear? All right. So we make everything we can to make sure that the exam is in good conditions. It might be that it's at 2 locations, both here and in Ona. In that case, we tell you in advance where to go. I cannot tell you yet what the health measures will be. It might be that this is gone, that there's no more measure. But last time in the previous session, the rule was that you could arrive 30 minutes prior to the exam and the doors were already open. So we were trying to spread the arrival of everybody. But I expect, I mean, if things continue to go the way they go, we are going towards less restrictions rather than more. It might be, I don't know yet, it will be communicated, it might be the ventilation of the exam rooms is kept to a higher rate than usual. I mean, ETH will communicate all of that to you anyway. I think there's always an email by director to send to everybody, right?
Do we provide the cheat sheet in advance, and we print it and bring it to the exam?
You cannot bring your own. However, what we call the cheat sheet is the Jupyter notebook, because you'll have an exam day, a Jupyter notebook that is pre-populated. This is the cheat sheet. We share it with you before the exam. You will know exactly what it will be ahead of the exam. I'm not sure if this was your question. And you don't need to print it, of course, because it will be here on the computer on exam day. Right. But to be clear, the cheat sheet is the Jupyter notebook. This is what we mean with cheat sheet. Okay. And I think that's it. Thomas was saying that, yes, the exam date has been announced, and that's the 26th of August, right? We just don't know the rooms, but we will know soon. Where has it been announced? Usually, I mean, I think you should receive an email from the examinations office that tells you when the exam dates are set. They do them all at the same time. It's happened this week. Do we have do you have the time, Thomas, out of your? I think it was 3 to 6, but I'm not sure. 3 o'clock, yes, exactly. So arrive in advance, of course, but it's 3 to 6. And yes, it's available in my studies in any case. But normally, there's also an email that tells you. Okay. No more questions? Should we proceed to the quiz then? All right. So let me then switch. So here's how it's going to work. It's the ice Gaggerholders that you might have seen, but maybe not all of you on TV. The idea is this. I'm going to ask you plenty of multiple choice questions. I have, plenty. At the start, everybody is going to stand, for those who are in the lecture hall, or raise their hands if you are on Zoom. And then I ask you questions, and the goal is to survive for as long as possible giving right answers. If you give a wrong answer, then you need to sit or to lower your head, and we'll see who is the last standing student at the end, who got the longest streak of valid answers. In order to make it interesting, we also have the TAs that are going to be competing as well. And so we have Wenqi here. I see that Thomas is also on the chat. We have other TAs who is here in the TA team.
Just 2 of us.
So the two of you, okay. So Thomas and Wenxi are going to play against you, and so your goal is to beat the TAs. That there's at least one of you with a longer streak of correct answers. Okay, shall we go? All right, so please all stand in the lecture hall if you want to participate, of course. All right, and on Zoom, please all raise your hands, at least those who want to participate. Everybody raise their hands or stand. Trying to move the window. All right. Raising the hands is the like this. It cannot be the +1. So +1. All right. Okay. Okay. So I'm assuming that everybody who wants to participate has raised their hands or is standing. All right. Okay, let's do it then. Right. So I assume that you have a Mattermost channel with Thomas or a way to communicate.
Yes.
Okay. So you can record your answer in reading as basically as a proof of your answer. The tricky part is to coordinate where I announce the official answer and ask you to give your answer. But we manage. We'll see. So let's go ahead. Here is the first question. How many bytes are there in an exabyte? So you need to, what I didn't say, you need to take your smartphone and the clicker app, right? Or on the laptop and answer there. It's exactly the way it's always worked. We just have this idea of standing up and raising hands in addition, right? So I'm giving more time for the first question, and then I start diminishing the available time. So how many bytes are there in an exabyte? All right, I still see people voting, so let's wait until everybody is ready and set up. So we have 15. We should have at least, okay, so now we have more votes than people with their hands. Perfect. All right. Okay, does anybody need more time or are we good? Everybody has voted on Zoom too? Okay. And here I'm going to try to synchronize where I click on close at the same time you give your answer. So what is the TA's answer?
For me, 10 to the 18th. Thomas, not sure.
Yeah, also 10 to the 18th.
Yeah. I'm realizing, I'm not sure if the sound is actually coming through normally somehow. Can you hear me? If I speak like that, you can hear me well on Zoom?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure why the sound is coming out of the computer like that. All right. Anyway, so 10 to the 18, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So that's 10 to the power of 18, which is perfect. So indeed, that was the correct answer. So now you can sit if you didn't get it. That's totally okay. You know, it's part of the game. It's only a game. You can still continue to answer. That's fine, right? You're not part of the streak, but you can still answer and participate in all the questions. All right. Very good. Let's go to the next one. Then we'll accelerate as we go. Here's another one. What is tail latency? Is it the latency required to write the last block of a file to HDFS? Is it the latency of a point query? Is it the latency of a range query, or does it describe the behavior of parallel computations at large scales when there is a probability of almost 1 that some nodes will take significantly longer. Oh, maybe this was the conferencing. I think that this was it. Okay, this. Long enough. I think I might have a way to make it longer. Trying to improve the sound. Let's see. Found somehow. Okay. Okay. So if you can hear me, then this is what matters. I mean, in the future, we'll keep trying to improve all of these things. All right. So we have 28 answers. What is the answer of the TA team?
For me, the last one.
All right, and indeed, this is the correct answer. It describes the behavior. You know, this is when you have a lot of tasks in parallel, a lot of slots, and one is just going to take longer, and that's just always happens when you have a lot of them. All right, so this is it. How many survivors do we still have? 13 on Zoom, and in the room, 7. So we have 20. All right. Now, let's move to how do we deal with the allocation across multiple resources. I think this one I think we skip that one, so I'm not going to ask that. This one, which one of these syntaxes is least adequate for storing data? RDF is resource description format, I think. That's a good question. We say it so often RDF that sometimes we tend to forget what it's for. Right, 25. What is the answer of the TAT?
HTML.
Yes, correct. So we still have 13 and 7 here. Oh, 11, 10, 9. Okay, 9 and plus 5. It's 8 now even. 8 plus 5, 13 people still remaining. All right. Then let's go to cubes. It's not part of this one. Document storage. Do document stores have schemas for their documents? Yes, like relational databases, it's a fundamental design principle. Or no, there are no schemas at all in SQL. This is incompatible with documents. Or this is optional. It's possible to associate a schema with a collection, but it must be done before populating data. Or this is optional. It's possible to associate a schema with a collection, and this can also be done after populating data. All right, we have 24 answers. What does the TA team say?
Let's see.
Aha.
I would say last. Okay.
So it was the last one. It's optional. You can do it before or after populating the data. That's basically what changes compared to a relational database, right? So, yeah, and the third answer is wrong because it says it must be done before populating data, but it doesn't have to be before. All right, so we have, oh, wow, only one person standing in the room, and in Zoom, 4. So there's 5 of you still in the game. Very nice. Yes, do you have a question?
Yes, what would happen if because we can do it after populating data, right? What happens if we have data that does not fit into the schema that we're giving, like after populating?
So for the specific case of MongoDB, I don't know, but in general, I can give you a design answer. So to repeat the question on Zoom to make sure that everybody understands, and even standing next to the computer to make sure. The question is, how does it work when you actually try to put a schema on your collection after the data has been populated? So first, the optimistic case, you have a collection, you validate it against a schema and it succeeds, right? So then that's great. You just now add the schema and it will be limiting the next future updates, making sure that the schema is fulfilled. An alternate, so what could also happen is that it's not valid against the schema, or there are documents that are not valid. One possible design is to say, okay, but in that case, you cannot add the schema. You have to first fix your data. And once you have fixed your data, then you can add the schema to the collection and enforce it. An alternate design could be that you allow for adding the schema. Some of the documents are flagged as being invalid, like as warnings or errors, but the schema is enforceable for future documents or future updates. This is another design. Another design could be semi-automatic in the sense that some documents might be invalid, but the system attempts to fix them, by forcing a cast, a cast from a string to an integer and so on. So these are possible designs. And I can imagine that this depends on the specific document store that you are looking at. But it's true in the specific case of MongoDB, we should look into it. Maybe we can come back with to you on Mattermost with more details on the way it's done. Right. But this is an excellent question. Right? Okay. So let's go to the next one. Declarative languages. There you go. Which one of these languages is not declarative? Haskell, Java, SQL, XQuery. All right, 25 answers. What is the answer of the TAT?
Java.
Yes, exactly. It's Java. Haskell is a declarative language. It's not for data, but it's still declarative. SQL is declarative. It's a functional and declarative language. XQuery is the JSONic for XML, right? It's almost the same as JSONic, but it's kind of the original. And this is also declarative. So the one that's not is Java. All right, you are still here. And on Zoom, we still have 3 people. Now there's 4 of you still in the race. All right. Let's go to the next one, which is maybe this one. Is the document foo valid XML? Yes, no, question not precise enough, or depends on the version of XML. 17, 19. (22, 23). All right. What do the TAs say?
Yes.
Aha. You fell in the trap. Why is the question not precise enough? Exactly, we don't know the schema. You can only ask if a document is valid if there's a schema. You are valid against the schema. Right. This is important. Well-formedness is universal, but valid needs a schema. So if I say, is that valid? The question is just incomplete. All right. So, oh, now we have nobody left in the lecture hall who is still standing. And on Zoom, we have 2 people. Right. Okay. So let's try to pick a winner. Validation. What is an RDD? Is it a resilient distributed data set, a recoverable distributed data set, a recoverable dividable data set, or a resilient dividable data set? (21). All right. Just asking for a confirmation for the 2 of you still in the game. Could you quickly confirm you have answered? Yes. And Yunki? Am I pronouncing correctly? Yunki?
But he didn't write the answer.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking. We need a confirmation. All right, I'm going to assume that this is the case or that I have an answer in mind. So this is the resilient distributed data sets, right? Okay, so we still have 2 people in the game. Let's go to the next one. Spark MapReduce. What very important stage of MapReduce occurring between mapping and reducing can be considered to be missing in its name? Group, scan, shuffle, or sort. Yeah, so please message your answers to Wenshi. Did you get the 2 answers from the Zoom?
Only received 1.
So we only have news from Matthias, it seems. Right. So we'll try a few more, but then basically that would make Matthias the winner, right?
Right. His answer is something.
Yeah. Maybe it's either a bug on Zoom or Yunchi is no longer with us. Spark MapReduce. Let's go to this one. Who advocated for the concept of data independence in 1970, paving the way for the modern database era? Alan Turing, Edgar Code, Jim Gray, John von Neumann. What do the TAs say?
Edgar Code.
Yeah, that's Edgar Code. Alan Turing is famous for kind of building the first modern computers. John von Neumann, by the way, was a student at ETH. He was in the CAB building right there studying chemistry. He actually touched a lot of things. He touched game theory, chemistry, computer science, economics, quantum physics. He was really a polymath. All right. Okay. And Matthias got it right again.
Yes.
And still no sign
No sign.
of the other student. All right. Okay, so it seems that Matthias, you might be the winner. We'll continue to answer a few questions because it's fun. We're training on the exam and so on. But let's see how far you go, Matthias. Let's see how many more you manage to answer. What is a commonly used name for the small chunks in which HDFS files are divided into before getting spread over nodes? Blocks, replicas, shard splits. All right, Thomas and Wenshi.
Splits.
It was actually blocks for it is for MapReduce. Yeah. Right. It's for MapReduce what you call it's roughly a block. So a block is basically bitwise, right? You count exactly 128 megabytes, but the splits are record-wise. You will not split in the middle of a record, basically, right? So it might be slightly longer than a block. All right. And Matthias got it right? Okay. Here's another one. What's the maximum size of an object in S3? Is it 1 gigabyte, 5 terabytes, 10 petabytes, or 1 exabyte? All right, Thomas and Wenshi?
5 terabytes.
Yes, 5 terabytes. All right, you all got it right. You're gifted. Very nice. Or you paid attention, or both. Another one. New columns can be created on the fly with HBase. Is that true or is it false? False, all column families and names must be created at design time, or true, both column families and column names can be introduced on the fly, or partly true, column families can be introduced on the fly, but column names must be known in advance, or partly true, the opposite. Column names can be introduced on the fly, column families must be known in advance. Which is it? All right, Thomas and Wenshi?
The last one.
The last one, yes, the majority got it right. Indeed, so the column families must be known in advance, but the column names, it's just live. Okay, next one. How many terabytes are there in a zettabyte? Synonyms, 1,000, 1 million, 1 billion. checking the time because, of course, there is a lunch after that, 11:46. All right. Wenshi, Thomas, what do you say?
Billion.
Yes, a billion. Okay, so how did I do it? Terabyte, tetra in Greek is for 4, times 3, 12, so it's 10 to the power of 12 terabytes. Zettabyte is 10 to the power of 21, right? The maximum we have is 10 to the power of 24, which is yottabyte. Yoctabyte, oh, now I'm confused. But anyway, zettabyte is 10 to the power of 21, and 12 to 21, there's a difference of 9. So 10 to the power of 9 is 1 billion. All right. And Matthias, you got it right. All right. Which one of the following suggestions is not traditionally considered one of the core 3 V's of big data? Variety, velocity, veracity, or volume? It's actually called the 4th V, the one that is the answer here. It's commonly added on top. All right, what do you say?
Veracity.
Veracity, exactly. So variety, velocity, and volume are the classical 3 V's, and veracity is the 4th one, about data quality, in fact. What answer did you give, Matthias?
Variety.
Variety, all right, okay. But you had the longest streak, so congratulations for that. Matthias, you are the winner of this semester's quiz. Congratulations. Maybe a round of applause. Let's get here from the room. All right. Okay. So let me stop the sharing. So at that point, I want to say thank you, everybody, for attending this lecture. I hope you learned a few things along the way. I hope that you will have a good preparation period for the exam. We are still here. You know, the Mattermost is going to remain open. You can ask questions. We are going to give you, of course, instructions if you want to reproduce the exam environment on your machine. So there's going to be a few explanations. You can try it. Do not panic if you don't manage. I mean, again, in the first years that we had the exam, we did not even share the environment with the students, and the exam went well, right? So the reason we are doing that we're giving you all of this information, is just to reduce your stress if it helps you, right? So we'll be here to help if there's anything. Thank you for being such a good audience, both online on Zoom. So I think that these things are here to stay in the long term. So of course, we're back in present to the lecture hall and so on. But in the future, at least in my lectures, I make sure that the Zoom attendance will remain possible for those of you who want to attend on Zoom. So you'll be able to continue to do so. I will continue to record the lectures. I will continue to put them on YouTube. Of course, I'm also still learning with these things, right? Because as you notice, sometimes there's a few technical glitches. We need to call technical support. It seems that today the Zoom integration didn't work optimally. But hopefully, with time, we'll just keep going, try to make the best out of all of this, and yeah, hope that this is the flexibility you'll get in attending courses in the future. Right. So I was very happy to have some of you in the lecture hall. Very happy that a lot of you also attend on Zoom. I think that since it's hybrid, you know, the attendance of lectures always goes a bit down during the semester compared to the beginning of the semester. But I feel that the hybrid mode actually allows even more people to attend compared to before. So this is really, really nice. And thank you very much for your kind words in the Zoom chat as well. All right. So yeah, it's always a bit of an emotional moment, the end of the semester, but basically this is it. This was the last lecture. enjoy your meal, enjoy a bit of vacation, maybe a bit of rest. Yes, so see you on the 26th of August for the final exam. Thank you, and goodbye. Good continuation of your studies.